Welcome back, guys, for part two on 5 income streams that a beauty entrepreneur can get into in order to increase their profit margins. Okay, so income stream number two is going to be you can private label or white label product sales. So, this is actual physical product, right? The potential for your earnings is high, the work involved is moderate man hours, and your market reach can be global. So, you can partner with manufacturers to create your own branded line of beauty products, skincare, hair care, makeup, tools of the trade. You can use their existing formulation or tools that they've designed, and it allows you to leverage your expertise, and people that actually are loyal to your particular brand would want to purchase this from you. Okay, the market demand is extremely high because it is specialized products. So once you enter the realm of this is Steph, I've designed this for you, it meets these needs, it contains this, and I've put my name to it, my audience would automatically recognize and trust what it is that I'm doing for them. So this is major, right? One thing that is growing exponentially in South Africa at this stage is the natural hair care market, as well as nail technology. It is booming, right? So, this is a fantastic entry to the market by looking into growing markets, growing places where you can expand, where you can do more, where you can offer more. But the most important thing is partnering with a manufacturer that aligns with your values, that is ethical, that is using quality ingredients that you can put your brand on. The profits for this can be very high, right? The margins on this, particularly with repeat purchases. So, the more you purchase from your manufacturer or the more you white label that product, the better you can negotiate terms with that manufacturer. Okay. And that means that you are going to build your brand's equity in the market. The man hours are moderate. Okay. So this would be you've got to set time aside for actually finding manufacturers that are local or international, selecting products, testing it, testing out samples, and seeing whether it aligns with what you want to bring to the market. You're also going to have to configure and put together your actual branding packages, and you would need a system of how you are going to communicate with your suppliers. So, in a practical sense, I would say if I'm going to interview a minimum of 5 suppliers or manufacturers, I would put dates to that. I would give myself, let's say, 2 weeks per manufacturer. I would put a timestamp on how long it would take for me to see how quickly do they respond. Do they have samples available for me to purchase and to try? And what does this mean for my business? Because if you don't have basically like actionables in place, if you don't know by when you want to achieve certain things, this process could drag on indefinitely. Okay, so before you start this, have a budget in mind, right? Once you've got this up and going and you've launched it and you've built anticipation and it's gone to market and you've got your first few sales, you are going to have to continuously pour into this asset by advertising, right? You're also going to need to have a management system for your inventory, for your marketing, and to fulfill your orders, right? So, like a drop shipping method or a method where you have a storage. Let's say if you're selling on Amazon or on Takealot or on Macro, right? Or Shopify. Who's going to keep your stock? What are the terms and conditions of those e-commerce stores? I would not go specifically into a rental agreement and having a brick and mortar store, because that's going to increase your operational costs, right? Your rental, your obligations, and that's going to eat into your profit margins, right? You can outsource these things. Now, in terms of global market reach, it is possible to reach an international market because we live in the day and age of social media. Okay, you can do this through your e-platform, right? So that's your e-commerce stores, but you need to take note of your shipping logistics and international sales, as well as regulations in international countries. So, for example, the European countries, or for example, the UK, are very strict on ingredients and ingredient lists and what is allowed, and in cosmetics especially. And the US has the FDA. Is it FDA approved? Can you sell it to their market? So you've also got to do that background research to make sure that your product is safe, that it's acceptable, and that it can be sold legally in those countries. Okay. The next thing is, what about your startup costs? So this, your startup, pardon me, time would be about 4 to 8 months. Of all the five that I'm going to suggest, this is certainly the longest, because you have to actually find manufacturers. You've got to test the products. You've got to make sure that they align with your brand before you get them out to market, right? And then once you've got this ongoing, your running would be about 5 to 10 hours, dependent on how you have mastered your systems. Do you have hired help? Do you have automations through AI? Who's fulfilling your orders? Who's shipping out your orders? Who's delivering your orders? So once you create systems that enable all of that work to be outsourced, it's going to open up a lot more time for you to work in your salon, right? The skill set level. So here I would suggest that you have core product knowledge, right? Understanding what are binding agents, what are emulsifiers, what are active ingredients. So, am I saying you need to become a qualified chemist? No, but I'm saying that you've got to understand, what does your product do? What are the benefits of the product that you are bringing? What ingredients are in there that give your client those benefits? Because you have to be a raging fan for your product. If you don't love it and if you're not going to use it on yourself, why would your market use it for themselves, right? Then you also need to have a certain level of skill with marketing. Now, thankfully, in this day and age, there are tons of agencies out there that are able to help you. Remember, guys, sometimes you've also got to outsource the work. As an entrepreneur, the goal is to also create work for other businesses, because we are an ecosystem. And the more we support each other, the more our economy grows, and everybody gets the opportunity to earn, and everybody gets the opportunity to create some form of wealth, right? The financial investment can range anywhere from 10,000 Rand to 100,000 plus. This is completely dependent on what your budget will allow. If you want to work towards saving 10,000 Rand for your first launch and your follow up orders, that would be something prudent to do. What you have to ensure is that you know how to correctly price your product, so you do not undercharge and you are then able to restock on your product. Also, keep in mind, how quickly can your manufacturer create more batches for you to restock. You also do not want to over order, because you don't want old stock laying in your inventory. I hope that this section has been super helpful. We are going to move on to section 3 next.